Ever ask Siri a question and wonder, like, how does she actually know that? Well, the answer might surprise you. It all leads back to DARPA.
Yeah.
DARPA, the same organization behind, those futuristic, sometimes almost unbelievable technologies. They're also the birthplace of your trusty digital assistant. Today, we're going deep, diving deep into the world of DARPA, peeling back the layers of mystery and uncovering the surprising origins of 10 inventions you might not realize they had a hand in.
What's often misunderstood about DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, is that, it's not just about building bigger bombs or faster jets. See, when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik back in 1957, it kind of triggered this wave of anxiety in the
Yeah.
US, right? And that led to the creation of DARPA in 1958, their mission, to make sure that the US stayed at the forefront of technological innovation, especially in areas with, national security implications.
So it was about more than just catching up. It was about anticipating future threats, getting ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And that's where this idea of DARPA hard problems comes in. These are challenges so complex, so seemingly impossible that the solutions aren't just unknown, they're practically unimaginable at the time.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's jump into some of these DARPA-funded inventions. I think everyone knows about the internet, but I bet most people don't know the story behind it.
You're right. The internet, I mean, it's become as commonplace as electricity, right? But back in the 1960s, it was DARPA's ARPANET that laid the groundwork for this global network that we all know and love and rely on. They understood that in a world that was becoming increasingly interconnected, communication was key, especially in the face of potential conflict.
So they were thinking about how to maintain communication even if parts of the network went down, like during, say, a war.
Exactly. Their solution was a decentralized network built on this then revolutionary concept called packet switching. So instead of relying on a single point of connection, information could be broken down into these packets and routed across multiple paths, making the network incredibly resilient.
That's fascinating. It's like it built in a backup system right from the start. Okay, from a communication revolution to something we use every day for navigation, GPS. Did DARPA really invent that too?
It might seem like magic, but GPS, or the Global Positioning System, has its roots firmly planted in a DARPA project. They were looking for a way to pinpoint locations with incredible accuracy. Initially for military purposes, of course, things like guiding missiles, tracking troop movements.
So how did it go from a military tool to something we use to, find the fastest route home from work?
Well, a pivotal moment came in 1983 when Korean Airlines Flight 007 tragically strayed into Soviet airspace. This incident, it really highlighted the need for more reliable civilian navigation. And so the U.S. government, they made the decision to open up GPS for civilian use.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Okay, enough with these almost practical inventions. Let's talk about robot dogs. You've seen the videos, right?
Yes. Big Dog, the brainchild of Boston Dynamics, funded in part by, you guessed it, DARPA. This four-legged robot, it was designed to tackle a very specific challenge, helping soldiers carry heavy loads across difficult terrain, places where traditional vehicles, they just couldn't go.
That sounds amazing. So why haven't we seen platoons of robot dogs marching alongside soldiers?
Well, there was one major snag noise. Big Dog, while incredibly adept at navigating rough terrain, was notoriously loud. Not exactly ideal for, stealth missions.
I guess that makes sense. You can't exactly sneak up on anyone with a robot dog that sounds like a lawnmower.
Precisely. The project was eventually scrapped for military applications, but it paved the way for Boston Dynamics to develop quieter, more agile robots, some of which are being used for things like search and rescue and, exploring hazardous environments.
So even a failed DARPA project can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Speaking of unexpected, let's talk about DARPA's foray into the world of insects.
This is where things get really interesting. DARPA has been exploring the potential of, well, cyborg insects, implanting tiny technology into insects for surveillance.
Hold on. Cyborg insects.
Yeah.
Is this real life or a scene from a sci-fi movie?
It sounds like science fiction, but it's a real area of research. Imagine using insects to detect explosives in a war zone or to monitor environmental changes in hard-to-reach places.
Okay. I can see the potential applications, but I have to admit that the idea of tiny robot insects flying around is a bit unnerving. Let's switch gears and talk about something a little more familiar, like the computer mouse.
You might be surprised to know that the way you interact with your computer today, the very concept of a graphical user interface, or IKUI, has roots in DARPA-funded research.
You mean to tell me that before touchscreens and voice assistants, DARPA was already thinking about user-friendly computers?
Exactly. In the 1960s, long before personal computers were commonplace, DARPA was funding research that led to the development of the GUI and the mouse. They envisioned a future where interacting with computers would be intuitive and accessible, not just for, scientists and engineers, but for everyone.
And look at us now, carrying around more computing power in our pockets than those early pioneers could have ever imagined. From something as ubiquitous as the computer mouse to a technology shrouded in mystery and intrigue, let's talk about onion routing.
Yeah, onion routing. The technology behind the Tor browser, it's often associated with, the dark web and all that. But its origins actually lie in DARPA's pursuit of secure communication.
So not just for like digital detectives and secret agents then.
Not at all. DARPA recognized the need for a way to transmit information online that was incredibly difficult to trace, making it ideal for, well, sensitive communication.
Okay, that sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller.
Mhm.
But how does it actually work?
Imagine each message being wrapped in layers of encryption, like an onion. As the message travels through the network, each layer is peeled back, revealing only the next destination. So it becomes incredibly difficult to trace that message back to its source.
So it's all about anonymity, protecting the sender's identity.
Exactly. And while Tor has its, controversial uses, it's important to remember that at its core, this technology, it was developed to ensure secure communication in a world that's becoming increasingly interconnected.
It's amazing how a technology initially designed for one purpose can kind of find new life in these unexpected ways. Speaking of finding new life, let's talk about DARPA's attempt to bring, those science fiction exoskeletons to life with the HULC.
Right. The Human Universal Load Carrier, or HULC, it was this ambitious project that aimed to, well, basically enhance soldiers' strength and endurance by enabling them to carry heavy loads with ease.
It's like giving soldiers like superhuman strength. What happened? Did it work?
While technologically impressive, the HULC, it faced some significant hurdles. Like, it did allow wearers to carry heavier loads, but it also kind of restricted their movement in certain ways. It could even increase strain on their muscles in some cases.
So not quite the seamless integration they were hoping for.
Unfortunately not. The HULC was eventually deemed, well, impractical for its intended military purpose. However, the research and development that went into the HULC, it's had ripple effects. It's informed the development of exoskeletons for things like medical and industrial applications.
So even in its failure, the HELC kind of sparked innovation in other fields.
Absolutely, and that speaks to, DARPA's willingness to take risks and push the boundaries of what's possible, even if it doesn't always lead to, immediate success.
Okay, ready for another DARPA origin story? This time we're talking about your very own personal assistant, Siri.
Siri. Yeah, before Siri was setting our alarms and answering our trivia questions, it was actually a DARPA-funded project called CIELO that stood for Cognitive Assistant that Learns and Organizes.
So Siri started as a military project. Who knew?
Indeed. The goal of Physiolo was to develop an AI assistant that could help soldiers in the field, providing information, scheduling tasks, even anticipating their needs.
Like a high-tech sidekick for soldiers.
Precisely. And while Cerelo never quite made it to the battlefield, Apple saw its potential for the consumer market and acquired Siri back in 2010.
Talk about a career change from military prototype to, like, digital companion. Okay, two more DARPA inventions to uncover, and one of them is shrouded in, well, mystery and conspiracy theories. Ever heard of HARP?
HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Yeah, it's a research facility up in Alaska that has become, well, a popular subject of speculation and conspiracy theories, to say the least.
From Siri to conspiracy theories, DARPA certainly keeps things interesting. So what's the real story behind HARP? What's it actually used for?
HARP is designed to study the ionosphere, a region of the Earth's atmosphere that plays this crucial role in radio wave propagation. By using high-frequency radio waves, scientists can temporarily excite a small portion of the ionosphere to study how it interacts with those radio waves.
So it's basically a giant science experiment in the sky.
In essence, yes. The data collected from HARP, it helps scientists better understand things like space weather, radio communication, even the aurora borealis, also known as the northern lights.
Fascinating. So those conspiracy theories about HARP being used to control the weather or people's minds, those are just that, conspiracy theories.
Precisely. While it's easy to get, caught up in the speculation, HARP's purpose is scientific exploration and discovery, furthering our understanding of the world around us.
Okay, last but not least, let's dive into a DARPA invention that sounds like it's straight out of a James Bond film. Stealth boats.
Ah, the Sea Shadow. Developed with DARPA's backing back in the 1980s, it was an experimental stealth ship designed to, well, evade radar detection.
Stealth boats. It's not just in the movies, is it?
No, it's not. The Sea Shadow used a unique hull design and radar-absorbent materials to minimize its radar signature, making it incredibly difficult to detect.
Wow. And how successful was it? Were there like fleets of invisible ships patrolling the seas?
The Sea Shadow, it proved to be very effective at evading radar. However, it was ultimately a technological demonstration project, and it was dismantled in the early 2000s.
So a successful experiment, but not something that ever made it into widespread use.
That's right. But the Sea Shadow, it stands as a testament to DARPA's commitment to exploring even the most unconventional ideas, pushing the boundaries of what's technologically achievable.
From the depths of cyberspace to the vastness of the ocean, DARPA's influence on the world is, it's undeniable. But all of this cutting-edge technology, it begs the question, what happens when these inventions fall into the wrong hands? It's a question that's, sparked debate and discussion since DARPA's inception. It's kind of wild to think that DARPA, an organization that's often associated with all this futuristic, cutting-edge technology, actually has its roots in a time of, global uncertainty back during the Cold War.
It really speaks to, their forward-thinking approach. They were and still are constantly looking beyond the horizon, trying to anticipate those future challenges and opportunities.
Speaking of looking ahead, what does the future hold for DARPA? What areas are they focusing on now?
Well, DARPA's current research portfolio, it's as diverse as ever, but I'd say a few key themes really stand out. One major area of focus is, of course, artificial intelligence, and particularly AI that can operate in these really complex and unpredictable environments.
So AI that can, think on its feet, adapt to changing situations. That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel.
It does, doesn't it? But it's becoming increasingly important in a world where, autonomous systems are playing a larger role in everything. I mean, think about it. Transportation, defense, you name it. Imagine AI that can control drones in crowded airspace, or robots that can assist in, say, disaster relief efforts, navigating these dangerous and unpredictable situations.
That's incredible. It's like trying to give machines that level of intuition and adaptability that we've, only ever seen in humans.
Exactly. And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. DARPA is also putting a lot of resources into biotechnology. They're exploring this intersection of biology and engineering, trying to create entirely new materials and
Yeah,
devices.
so now you're just teasing me. Give me an example. What kind of things are we talking about here?
Well, imagine materials that can heal themselves, like living tissue. Or think about using genetically engineered bacteria to actually produce biofuels. I know these might sound like they're straight out of science fiction, but I assure you they are very active areas of research within DARPA.
That's mind-blowing. It seems like DARPA is kind of blurring the lines between the natural and the artificial.
They are indeed. And if that wasn't enough, they are also exploring ways to, get this, enhance human capabilities,
Right.
both physical and cognitive.
We talked about exoskeletons earlier. Is that kind of what you're talking about with enhancing physical capabilities?
Exoskeletons are definitely one example. But DARPA is also looking at things like, and this is where it gets really interesting, brain-computer interfaces. This technology could potentially allow humans to control machines with their thoughts, or even enhance memory and cognitive function.
Okay, that sounds like something straight out of a superhero movie.
It's definitely pushing those boundaries of what we thought was possible, but it also raises some, pretty profound ethical and philosophical questions. I mean, what does it mean to be human in an age of such rapidly advancing technology?
It's exhilarating and, I guess, a little bit daunting to think about both the possibilities and the potential implications.
Oh.
So after this incredible deep dive into, the world of DARPA, what's the takeaway for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that DARPA has been this driving force behind some of the most transformative technologies of our time. I mean, you think about the internet, you think about GPS, even these precursors to artificial intelligence as we know it. Their work has undeniably shaped the world we live in today, and it will continue to shape the world of tomorrow.
It seems like the key takeaway here is that DARPA is more than just a research agency. It's like this, I don't know, like a glimpse into the future.
Precisely. By understanding DARPA's history, its motivations, and, these current areas of focus, we gain a better understanding of the forces that are going to shape the future of technology, for better or for worse.
It's a future full of, some really exciting possibilities, but also one that requires, I think, really careful consideration and responsible stewardship. as these technologies continue to evolve?
I think the most important question to ask ourselves is not just what will they think of next, but how will these innovations impact our world? And more importantly, how can we shake that impact for the betterment of humanity?
That's a really powerful thought to end on. I think as we've learned in this deep dive, DARPA's inventions, they have a way of kind of seeping into our lives, sometimes in ways that we might not even realize or expect. It's a good reminder that the future isn't something that just happens to us, you know? It's something we create. We create it through our choices, through our actions today. Thanks for joining us on this journey into, well, the fascinating world of DARPA. And be sure to tune in next time when we take another deep dive into the stories behind the technologies that shape our world.